I did have an eventful evening that ended up teaching me a big lesson.
If you go out drinking, don't take business cards with you.
That's right. Or give them a fake name, because if I say Holtree now, they're like, oh, Foreman Watson Holtree.
They're like, oh, McDuffie's.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It is time for more Law Light. PJ and I are sitting up here in the multi-purpose room at the high-rise, two-story white brick edifice that's at 530 Frederick Street, Owensboro, Kentucky. And it's chilly outside. There's spitting snow.
A little bit, yeah.
So
just what we need.
So today we have a couple of things on the agenda to talk about. And unless you want to hijack it with something, which you're always allowed to do.
No, I only try to do that once every now and then.
I want to give a quick shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Indiana, Florida. It's been a rough 2 months. And I'm not going to get into all that. Well, a lot of it was with Dave, and we've talked about Dave. 3 or 4 of them have called me. All of them have texted me. You know, it just feels good to have family, and I know they're faithful listeners to the podcast, so I'm just going to give them a nod today.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm handing out some nods, the 3-nod pod.
That's right. That's only one nod so far.
One nod, but nod to the Holtree cousins. Thank you, and I love you. The next thing I want to kind of address here right off the top, we as a firm have a new lawyer that's coming, and I mentioned it a while back, but it's getting closer, and I've started to meet some people that are actually hiring us now so that they can use him when he comes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, his name's Jesse Hagan. He's at University of Louisville. He's in his 3rd year of law school. He's a really bright guy. He's from this area, wants to come back home. I know that Jesse listens to the podcast from time to time, so I just wanted to also give him a nod and tell him to keep on going, young man. You're almost done. See the finish line, and then know that you have a mighty storm awaiting when you get here.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right.
As in
PJ's
a podcast episode.
PJ's going to haze you.
What's his area of expertise?
He doesn't have one yet, right? He's fresh, brand new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, I thought maybe
he's coming out of law school, and we can mold him into what we want to make him.
Clean slate.
Boy, one thing I can tell you is he's bright and he's hardworking. He's hungry. Right. Yeah. So he's got he already has 2 children. And so he has mouths to feed, and that always is a good equation for somebody. Same situation I was in coming out of law school. I didn't have kids yet, but I had one real quick after I took the bar exam. So
that's called celebrating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, right. Gotcha. The story that you just reminded me of that I've never shared on the podcast that I'm going to share today. When you pass the bar exam, it's one of those things that I think they send it to you electronically now, maybe. I don't know.
Probably through a text message.
Back in the day, you got an envelope, and you knew that in the envelope there sat your fate. Pass or fail, right? It didn't give you a score. It didn't say you got this many out of this many. It said you have passed the Kentucky bar exam or you have failed the Kentucky bar exam. Please make plans to take it again. So I was waiting for my envelope. It came, and at the time, my wife, Kelly, was at the house. Actually, it was an apartment. She said, hey, your bar results are here. And I said, don't open them. So at the time I was working for my first job in Owensboro was with an attorney named Dan Caslin. I worked for him briefly before going to work for Charlie Moore. So I told Dan, I said, I gotta go home. I said, my bar results came in. Oh, great. I'm sure you passed, good deal. So I go home, I get my envelope, and I pass the bar exam. I think that was on a Friday. So me and Dan Caslin and my wife, Kelly, our 2 paralegals, Brandy and Kelly, and Brandy's husband. I don't think Kelly had a boyfriend at the time. She's married now. Anyway, we all are going to do it upright, and we go to Applebee's. Fancy
That is
like
fancy,
Applebee's on
schmancy.
the date night. So we go to Applebee's. And I'm celebrating, right? So I mean, like I don't even know if Applebee's does this anymore, but they used to have a beer called the Brutus, and it's like a big, tall beer, the Brutus.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's a masculine name, It makes you feel like a man drinking a Brutus. So, so I order a couple of those, eat dinner. Well, Kelly was pregnant at the time, so she goes home. And Dan goes home. Well, me and Brandy and Scott and Kelly, we all decide we're going to keep going out. So we go, and I can't remember all the places, but we ended up at a bar. It's still open, and it's called something else, but it was down on Fifth Street. It was called McDuffie's.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
All right, so now by the time I reached McDuffie's, I probably should have just packed it in. Right. Mm-hmm. Again, this is not the current Travis Holtry. This is the young rookie, just got out of law school, and I'm dancing out on the dance floor, and it's one of those things like I probably looked like a drugged giraffe out there.
Did you look like that one guy who was at Tyler's wedding, who was just going nuts on the dance floor? You know what I'm talking about, with the glasses and the beard and mustache?
Probably worse. Probably worse than that. That was Bo Ivy. Anyway, I was handing out cards, my business cards. Okay? I was handing out my business cards. There's this girl on the dance floor, and I was dancing with her, and it was not I was very committed in my marriage. Okay, but I was dancing with her. Just like anybody that would walk by, I was dancing with them, right?
Right.
Kind of like you do when you're in such a state of mind. I danced with her, and kind of get like a little bit crazier dancing with her. I'm not gonna call it dirty dancing, but it was on the edge of dirty dancing. Oh, she said, "You're so handsome," and I was like, "Well, I'm married," and she was like, "That doesn't matter," and she was like really trying to, and I was like, "Okay," The night ends, I go home. At that time in Davis County, if you were a new attorney, your name was added to a list, and that list was you were required to represent people in dependency, neglect, and abuse cases in juvenile court. Okay. So in a dependency, neglect, and abuse case, there's an allegation that a parent has either abused a child or neglected a child, or that left the child in a dependent state and they weren't there to help. Okay. So it's not really neglect. It's just maybe they're not fulfilling this dependence role. Okay.
Right.
So you either get appointed to represent the parent, the child. Those are the two you can represent, and sometimes there's multiple parents or multiple, there's 3 or 4 attorneys appointed on one case.
Yeah.
I get this thing in the mail. Okay, this is before internet, so everything was by mail. I get this thing in the mail, and it says, "You've been appointed to represent, Abab Skillibot Boutte," whatever their name was. I say, okay. So I tell Brandy, I said, "Hey, we'll get in touch with her. We need to have her come in." They call her, and she comes in. She's sitting out in the little lobby that we had there at the office. And so I got my legal pad, and I'm ready to meet with her, and I walk out. PJ, I had been appointed to represent the girl I was dirty dancing with.
It was fate.
You can call it fate. I was traumatized. I was like, oh my gosh. So we get back in the conference room, and I'm like, all right, this says this. I'm kind of like really being professional, like, I needed to be. And she stops me. She says, "Do you remember me?" I go, "No." She goes, "You danced with me at McDuffie's." I was like, "No, that was somebody else."
You're like, I have a twin brother.
No, I go, "No, that wasn't me." She goes, "Yeah, you were giving out business cards. You're a lawyer, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I represent you, but no, I certainly was not at McDuffie's handing out business cards." So she says, "Are you sure? Because you really look like the guy I was dancing with." And I was like, I said, "I've been told I've got somebody I look alike in town." I was like, "But no, it wasn't me." I denied it the whole way through. So I represented this girl for about 3 or 4 months in this and this girl was getting accused of like neglecting her children. Yeah,
right.
She was out at McDuffie's getting on the dance floor.
Right.
So
she was dancing with you when she should have been at home
taking
feeding
care
her
of her
child.
Kids. That's right. That's exactly right. I represent her. We get the case done 3 or 4 months later, and she has to come in, and at the time I would have my clients review my affidavit for my fee and say that is the work that I did, because you have to turn it into the state. I had her review my affidavit for the fee, and I told her gave her final papers and kind of concluded things. Mm-hmm. And she was walking out of the office, and she stopped at the door, and she turned around and she goes, I never bought your lie that it wasn't you. It was you at McDuffie's. And she walked out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, when you said, all the way back to what got me on this tangent was you said, oh, yeah, my wife got pregnant because I celebrated passing the bar.
Right.
Well, if it didn't happen that night, okay, she was already pregnant. But I did have an eventful evening that ended up teaching me a big lesson. Owensboro is a small town. And people are watching you and know you, so you better watch out because tomorrow they may be your client.
If you go out drinking, don't take business cards with you. That's the lesson.
That's right. Or give them a fake name because if I say Holtree now, they're like, oh, Foreman Watson Holtree.
They're like, oh, McDuffie's.
Yeah. So anyway, that's an opening story. It's, a little embarrassment, but an interesting story.
You were young.
I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you gotten anything in the mail from the U.S. District Court?
No, not yet.
Okay, but it hadn't been 30 days in all fairness, right?
Right, yeah.
It's been 7 or 8 days,
it's been a little over a week. I had that for probably a week before I brought it in.
So it's been 2 weeks.
So it's been at least 2 weeks. So so we've got at least another 2.
You haven't heard a thing, peep?
Nothing at all.
Not a peep.
No, but I have started getting these phone calls from. It says insurance quote.
That's not related.
Well, it happened around the same time that we did the podcast talking about
your conspiracy theory mind would put those two things together.
I don't know. And then Farm Bureau has been texting me for some reason.
Oh,
supposedly. It's a 606 number.
Have you recently searched quotes for insurance or anything
on
your phone? Or anything?
No, this all started within the last probably 4 or 5 days. I started getting these phone calls from State Farm and from this company. It just says insurance quote when they call, which I thought is kind of a bizarre thing to pop up.
Keep me posted, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist.
Oh, I will.
On what's going on. And
I think it's aliens
that are watching you. Just watch your medication.
I was listening to you talk about your medications, and I was like, man, I'm on way more medications than that. I actually just started a new anxiety med.
Oh, really?
Prestique. Yeah.
It sounds like it should work.
I like it so far. It's been keeping me pretty leveled out.
Chill.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been yelling at the kids as much.
Your kids probably appreciate that you haven't been yelling at them as much.
They deserve it.
Let's update the world about your car. You have a car, a company car. Mm-hmm. It's got the crash scene investigation graphics on it. It's a cool little zip car.
Yeah.
And it totally went kaput. It only has 12,000 miles on it.
Right.
Because
the valve body in the transmission went out.
Wow, PJ.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's that mean?
I don't know. That's what they told me. That's what they told me.
You sounded so authoritative. Oh, the valve body and the transmission went out. Yeah,
Sometimes I pretend.
The O-ring on the D-clamp, it came loose. So
I hate when you blow out an O-ring.
Yeah. So you go out racing at night, and it finally caught up with you.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Out racing the CSI car.
That's right.
Yeah. Is there an after world, a dark, black market world out there where people meet at places and race that you don't know about?
Well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
So the car is in the shop, and this has been an ordeal from the get-go, right?
Yeah. I mean, they've been really nice.
I know why Farm Bureau's calling you, because we made a claim for the tow.
Well, we didn't though.
Who did we put that on? Don Moore, because of his warranty?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I don't know, but we do have Farm Bureau on your car. So it may be related to that. You may want to return that.
Well, I think it was State Farm that was calling.
Oh, I thought you said Farm Bureau.
No.
Can you get your story straight, please?
It's one of those insurance places, yeah.
What's the latest on getting the car back? They finally got you a loaner so that you
They did. Yeah. The Acadia. I really like the Acadia.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that'll be your next company car.
Maybe. It's nice and big, and like you said a second ago, authoritative. It feels. It's weird, when you're sitting in it and you're looking out over the hood, it's almost like you're driving a truck.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get out, you're like, oh, this is not a truck. It doesn't look like that at all. But for some
reason,
reason,
feel like a country boy when you're in it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Come on, you listen to a little country music.
Maybe,
in there?
Yeah. Little Jelly Roll.
Jelly Roll's not country music.
He's got some country in there. He's got a mix.
He did show up at the Riley Green concert I went to.
I'll see. When I got the loaner finally from them, they said it would be another week to possibly 2 weeks before I got the car back. That's the thing about Don Moore, not to call them out or anything. Everybody there is super nice, and they're accessible. but they cannot, like you said a second ago, they cannot get their story straight. Every time you talk to somebody different, one person will be like, oh, it's a month. And the next person's like, oh, you should get it in the next 4 to 5 days. And then another person will be like, oh, it's 2 weeks. And they're all over the place. And then when I went in there and talked to the guy that's our representative, he even said, he's like, well, it's really, because I mentioned something about it. And he says, it's really difficult sometimes to estimate.
It is, and it's frustrating. You're right, and I know who you're talking about because I now, on my truck is a company truck, and it only has 17,000 miles on it. There's 3 features that in a blink of an eye went out on my truck. Okay, let me tell you what those 3 features are. One of them is the crash avoidance and detection system. So
Which
it's
is
the one
important.
when you're closing in on somebody, it goes, boop, 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 you know, it
Right.
warns you
It's
that
got
you're
the flashing lights and stuff. Yeah.
Right. And it's called crash detection and avoidance and gap adjust. So you can adjust how close you want it to start sending off warnings. And I do mine as far back as possible. I want that thing to give me as much notice as I can.
Right.
All right. So number 1, that's not working. Number 2, guess what else isn't working? My lane assist. So there's the feature if you push that button, that if you start to drift out of your lane, it'll nudge you back. You know,
Right,
It's kinda,
yeah.
It's really nice out on the highway because if you're getting sleepy, it'll bring you back.
Right.
So there's that. And then a feature that I love, and it frustrates a lot of people, but I use it, and it's the auto brights. And what happens is if you set that, it detects when it's dark and there's no oncoming traffic, and it pops your brights on. And then when it detects that there's lights coming, it pops them off.
Although sometimes it'll do a thing where it'll think that there's nobody there, and then it'll pop on, and then suddenly it'll recognize that there's a car there, and it'll pop off. So it's like you're flashing the person.
That's why people don't like it, but I like it because I drive the Natcher a lot at night. And that is a dark road at night,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So I like it. Well, anyway, all 3 features went out. So I schedule my truck in. I go over. I take my computer because I can always work when I'm at home. I go down to the coffee shop and plug in, start. Here's the deal. When I get there, they go, oh, well, this truck has a recall too, and we need to get on that. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, yeah, the recall was for the running lights or something like that they stay on or they go off, or I can't remember what it was. And they said, we got to fix that. And by the way, did you ever get your heated steering wheel? Because my truck was supposed to come with a heated steering wheel, but the insert that makes it happen wasn't in it. And I was like, no, I told them, apparently they told me it was going to be like December or January. I still don't have it. Well, that's odd. We should have had that by now. So I sit there from 1:30 to 4:30, 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And the one guy, he goes, hey, they took it out to test drive it. We'll have it right back. I'm like, okay, good. Well, then they get back and they go, well, here's what we were able to do. We were able to work on the recall, but we cannot fix your crash avoidance and all this because your front camera is fried. The camera that shoots out and picks up on the fact that all these other if you think about all 3 of those things that are out require something reading in front of your car.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I hear. So we've ordered it. Problem is that they're on back order because all the new ones that they're making are going in their new vehicles. And I'm like, well, but you have a warranty obligation to put it in my vehicle. And I was like, and it's dangerous to be driving it without it. Well, we could give you a loaner. Ready for this? But PJ has our last loaner. I was like, so I told him, I said, I'm going to make sure PJ knows that if I have a wreck, it's his fault. So
no, it's Don Moore. It's Don Moore's fault.
So anyway, they told me they'd call me when the parts come in for that and my steering wheel.
Yeah,
so,
I don't. So when I got the Acadia, I had said something to Leslie about it, and she goes, oh, and I go, what? Why do you say that? And she goes, oh, I go, do you know what an Acadia is? And she said, yeah. She said, the only reason I know that is because I read somewhere that those are known for the transmissions going out on them. And I was like, oh, great.
Yeah. Well,
it must be a GMC thing.
It may be. I've got a friend that has a GMC truck, and his transmission went out and had 40,000 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
So, anyhow.
Planned obsolescence.
The last thing that I want to, two more things I want to talk about. We're zipping them off my list. We had the one thing we talked about I wasn't planning on. So
right.
The next thing on my list is I think I saw on Facebook that you're starting the production of New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve this Saturday.
Where's this happening?
It's happening at the I'll probably beep this out because we don't want people to randomly show up. Yeah, but it's there. That's where we're at. So that's the office location, and we're originally we were also supposed to film at the parking garage that's right over here downtown. Due to weather concerns. Right. It's because it's supposed to get down to like 20 degrees. Well, originally when we were looking at the forecast, now it's like 40 or 50. But we were worried that was going to be too cold, and then we were trying to find a trailer. So because our special effects team has to have an area set up to where they can do makeup applications, and it's not 20 degrees out. And the whole thing just got to be a little too convoluted. So we decided that we're just going to shoot the whole thing at the main location. Well, then the forecast started changing for rain and possible snow for Saturday night, and some of that we were going to film outside. So we've decided just to logistically, we have found a way to where we're going to shoot everything inside the building, and so now we're just filming at where I said a second ago and beeped it out. But I'm stressed.
What's your new P medicine called?
Prestique.
Prestique will take your
I've thought about I'm only on 25 milligrams, which is the lowest dose of Prestique. I've thought about just taking an additional pill just for like Saturday.
I'd bleep that out too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
You're supposed to take medication as directed.
As prescribed.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about. Oh, by the way, congratulations. Keep me posted. How long? What's the I guess calendared time that you think it's going to take to get the filming done? I know that then it becomes editing and all that.
Right. So we only film on weekends. So we're right now our principal photography we're looking at going through April, and then May we have some weekends set up for mostly special effects and then like any kind of pickup shots or anything that we need to do. There is an additional scene that we're doing in June just because it was based off of somebody's schedule, and we'll probably end up shooting a couple things outside or around the actual current filming schedule. But right now the main bulk of shooting is, especially at the office location, is through April.
Keep me posted. All right.
Oh, I will. We have that VIP party tomorrow night.
Where is that?
It's at the Holiday Inn Riverfront.
And it's a New Year's Eve party, right?
Yeah, from 8 to midnight. And then all the celebrities we're bringing in, because we have Dave Sheridan coming in this weekend, Felissa Rose, and then Jeffrey Reddick, who Final Destination. And so we're all doing that there. And it's like a fake New Year's Eve party kind of a thing. Honestly, it's turned out to be a bit more of a headache than what we had intended. And if I could have my way, I would completely get rid of the party and we'd be filming Friday night, because we're going to try to shoot somewhere around 23 pages worth of stuff in 2 days. So we're looking at like a 17-hour day on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. Better get to bed early.
Yeah, right.
I expect you here Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
I'll be here. I'll still be here, but it'll be Thursday before I fully recover. But
all right. Last thing that I want to talk about is we have a very important thing on the horizon, and I'm going to give you a test.
Okay.
The NFL football season is down to 4 teams.
Oh, no. None of which I know.
Well,
so if that's where this is headed.
That's the test.
I've already
missed.
You've set me up for failure.
We committed to cardinal sin last year. We missed our NFL show, our Super Bowl show, remember?
Yeah.
Or the important game that's named about an exceptional bowl, because you're not allowed to say Super Bowl,
yeah,
right?
Balls of feet.
So, can you name one of the 4 teams that are left?
To play in the Super Bowl?
There's 4 teams left in the playoffs. I'm going to give you 3 shots at picking one team that may be in those 4.
Okay. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nope. That is an
NFL, really?
That's an NFL team, but they're not in it.
Okay. The Nebraska Cornhuskers.
That's college, so they're not going to...
It's still football, though, right?
But they're not going to let them in the Super Bowl. That's great. And one more pick.
Oh, the Buccaneers?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were in the playoffs, but they got beat, and they're not in it anymore. Tom Brady's out.
They let me down.
So here are the 4 teams that are left to play in the Super Bowl. They're going to play Sunday. to narrow it down to the 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
You're going to have the Philadelphia
cheesesteaks.
Yeah. The Eagles.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles. And they are playing the San Francisco
49ers.
Yes. Yeah. Woohoo. You get a point. Okay. So those 2 are playing. All right. Then we have on the other side of the ledger, kind of like a bracket, the Kansas City
Chiefs.
You get another point, PJ. Yes. All right. And they are playing the Cincinnati
Bengals.
You got 3 of the 4 mascots, man. That's awesome.
Hooday.
Okay, Hooday. Look at you.
That's for Eric. Yeah. Eric is a big Bengals fan.
Look at you. All right. So we're on our next podcast, we're going to know who the 2 Super Bowl teams are.
All right.
Okay. And
should I know them as well?
Yeah. And then what we're going to do is we'll get back to doing our Super Bowl show where we just drag people in here.
Okay.
And get their picks. Okay.
Sounds
Gotta
good.
have a little Super Bowl fun. So, but we'll do it on the show. There's 2 weeks between this Sunday and the Super Bowl. You know how they give a week off so they can really build it up.
Right.
So if it's 3 weeks away.
Right.
But
that's how time works.
After Sunday, after this Sunday, we'll know it'll be 2 weeks. It's 2 Sundays. So
they have to take that one Sunday off to go celebrate at McDuffie's.
At McDuffie's and hand out their business
That's
cards.
right.
I play for the Eagles. So, all right. So we know that we're not this next week when we record, but the following week when we record is going to be the Super Bowl. The excellent game that cannot be named.
Okay. Right.
Podcast.
Yes.
Super Bowl.
You just named it.
I just came up with a name for it. All right, Nate, we've covered a lot today, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always think, man, Travis doesn't have anything on the agenda.
Oh no, at this point I know I'm well versed knowing that you're going to come in prepared even if I'm not.
But you know what's funny is sometimes you are secretly. And
there are times when I have an idea.
You have a plan.
I always try to look at breaking news that's going on.
It was boring this morning.
Well, it's all
Political.
we got that. There's another. Yeah, there was a shooting again.
Did you see where that car ran into the back of the school bus here in Davis County?
No.
Yeah, it was a bad wreck. I didn't see if there was any serious.
Oh, wait a second. Is that where it's like the bus is sticking out into the street and the car's
underneath it?
Yeah. Okay, I did see that.
Yeah, here in Davis County. So I haven't heard if anybody was hurt. Hopefully not. All right, this has been Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtree. FWHlegal.com is our website. You can find us on all platforms of social media. We are here to help you if you have any legal needs. We appreciate all of our listeners. And until next time, thank you and God bless.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of 2 mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!